Earth 2178. Dr. Ju Park stared at the containment field with disbelief. Her team had finally done it. Stable antimatter containment and controlled annihilation at an efficiency level previously thought impossible. What started as a desperate attempt to solve Earth's energy crisis had become humanity's greatest technological achievement. The blue glow pulsed steadily within the magnetic field. Ju pressed her hand against the reinforced glass, feeling the slight vibration. Behind her, the team of 12 scientists held their breath. No one dared speak and break the magic of this moment. 1 hour, Ju finally whispered, checking the timer. We've maintained stability for 1 full hour. Dr. Minho Lee, her research partner of 15 years, wiped tears from his eyes. The simulations never got past 20 minutes. Ju nodded, her throat tight with emotion. 5 years of failures, 3 lab accidents, countless nights without sleep, and now success. In the observation room, Dr. Haijin Ryu was already running calculations on the energy output. The efficiency is beyond anything we projected, she called out, her voice trembling with excitement. We're seeing 99.7% conversion. It's almost perfect annihilation. The antimatter containment project had begun as a last-ditch effort when the global energy shortage reached critical levels. Fossil fuels had been depleted decades earlier. Nuclear fission plants were aging, and fusion remained frustratingly out of reach despite billions poured into research. Governments around the world had united under the Global Energy Initiative, pooling resources for one final push to save civilization from collapse. The Antarctic Research Station became their greatest hope, a facility built 2 kilometers beneath the ice, where Ju and her international team worked in secret. We need to inform the council, said Dr. Taho Kim, the team's communication specialist. His fingers hovered over the secure terminal. This changes everything. Ju raised her hand. Not yet. Let's run a full week of tests. I want to be absolutely certain before we make any announcements. Her caution was well-founded. The science of antimatter was notoriously tricky. In theory, when matter and antimatter particles met, they annihilated each other completely, converting their mass into pure energy according to Einstein's famous equation, E equals mc2. 1 gram of antimatter reacting with 1 gram of matter could produce an explosion equivalent to a nuclear bomb. But harnessing that energy safely had always been the challenge. Previous attempts had all failed. Containment fields collapsed. Cooling systems failed. The tiniest amounts of antimatter would touch normal matter and vanish in bursts of gamma radiation. But Juwoo's team had finally solved the puzzle. Their breakthrough came from an unlikely source, studying the magnetic fields of neutron stars. By mimicking these incredibly powerful natural phenomena on a small scale, they created a containment system that could hold antimatter stable for extended periods. The power readings are off the charts, Haijin announced, bringing up a holographic display for everyone to see. With just this small amount, we could power all of Antarctica for a year. The implications were staggering. A handful of these reactors could supply energy to entire continents. Ships, planes, and spacecraft could carry nearly limitless power in tiny containers. Humanity's energy problems would be solved overnight. As the team celebrated quietly, none of them realized they were being watched, not by human eyes, but by distant alien ones. Across the galaxy, on a monitoring station orbiting a red dwarf star, Officer Grohl of the Galactic Confederation yawned as he scanned his reports. His job was to keep tabs on developing civilizations in this sector, making sure they didn't advance too quickly or pose any threats to established galactic order. Earth was just one of 17 pre-FTL planets under his watch, and frankly, one of the least interesting. Humans were classified as a Level 2 civilization, past the Industrial Revolution, but nowhere near achieving faster-than-light travel. Their technology was primitive by Confederation standards. Grohl pulled up the latest assessment on Earth and skimmed through it. Indigenous species continues to rely primarily on nuclear fission and renewable energy sources. Space exploration limited to their own solar system, with rudimentary colonies on their moon and neighboring planet Mars. Projection: minimum 125 standard years before achieving basic interstellar flight capability. He approved the report with a flick of his third appendage and moved on to more pressing matters. The Confederation had protocols for first contact, but humans weren't even close to meeting the criteria. What Grohl and the entire Confederation monitoring network failed to detect were the unusual energy signatures emanating from beneath Antarctica's ice. Their sensors were calibrated to look for conventional power sources and the radiation signatures of primitive nuclear reactions. They weren't designed to notice the highly efficient, nearly radiation-free antimatter reaction Juwoo's team had achieved. The containment field not only held the antimatter stable, but also absorbed most of the gamma radiation produced during test annihilations. The facility's location, deep beneath kilometers of ice, further masked any detectable traces from orbital sensors. Back in the lab, a week passed with the antimatter remaining perfectly stable. The team ran test after test, each one confirming what seemed impossible. They had mastered antimatter. "It's time," Juwoo said, gathering everyone in the conference room. "We're ready to inform the Global Energy Council." The video call connected, showing the faces of 12 men and women representing the world's unified governments. Their expressions changed from polite interest to shock as Juwoo presented their findings. "Are you absolutely certain?" asked Chairwoman Rosa Diaz, leaning toward her camera. "This would solve every energy problem we face." "We've confirmed it multiple times," Juwoo replied. "The antimatter remains stable, and the energy output is exactly as predicted by theory. We're ready to begin scaling up the containment fields for practical applications." The council erupted in discussion. Plans were quickly made to expand the facility, to build antimatter reactors in secure locations around the world, and most exciting of all, to construct the first antimatter-powered spacecraft. "Project Horizon will be revived immediately," announced Director William Chen. "With this power source, we could reach Mars in days instead of months. The outer planets would be within easy reach." Nobody mentioned the stars yet, but the thought was in everyone's mind. If antimatter could be produced in significant quantities, interstellar travel might finally become possible. As the meeting concluded, Juwoo returned to the containment chamber alone. She placed her hand on the glass again, watching the blue glow pulse like a heartbeat. "We did it," she whispered to herself. "We're going to the stars." Little did she know that humanity's leap forward had gone completely unnoticed by the watchful eyes of the galaxy. The Galactic Confederation, with all its advanced technology, had made a critical error in their assessment. They expected humans to follow the same technological path as other species, slowly working their way up from fission to fusion to matter-antimatter reactions over centuries. They never imagined that desperate humans might skip steps, taking bold risks that established spacefaring civilizations would consider reckless. By the time the Confederation realized what had happened, humanity would already be among the stars, their antimatter ships appearing seemingly out of nowhere. The galaxy never saw it coming. 5 years after Dr. Juwoo Park's breakthrough, the Sejong hung in Earth orbit like a silver teardrop against the black of space. Captain Geo Kang stood on the bridge, watching Earth shrink in the main view screen as the antimatter drive powered up for its first deep space mission. "All systems green," reported Navigation Officer Yuna Choi, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls. "Antimatter containment at optimal levels." Jiho nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. The Sejong represented humanity's greatest achievement, the first true starship. Its sleek hull concealed the revolutionary antimatter drive that would carry them beyond the solar system at speeds previously thought impossible. "Begin final countdown," he ordered. 10 minutes to drive activation. The crew of 30 worked with quiet efficiency. Each had been carefully selected from space agencies around the world, the best pilots, engineers, and scientists Earth had to offer. They all understood what this moment meant. If successful, the Sejong would reach Alpha Centauri in just under 6 months, a journey that would have taken conventional spacecraft thousands of years. Chief Engineer Do Hyun Ba monitored the antimatter reactor from his station. "Containment field stable. We're ready, Captain." "Commence final checks," Geo ordered. 200,000 kilometers away, aboard Confederation Monitoring Station 47, Junior Observer Melk spilled his nutrient drink across his console. The alarm had startled him, an urgent, pulsing sound he'd never heard during his 3 cycles of duty. "What is that?" he asked his supervisor, pointing at the strange energy signature appearing on his screen. Senior observer Nick moved quickly to the console, her 4 eyes widening in disbelief. "That's impossible," she muttered, running diagnostics on the sensor array. "The system must be malfunctioning." The readings showed an enormous energy spike coming from the third planet, the one inhabited by the primitive species called humans. The signature indicated antimatter annihilation, but on a scale that shouldn't be possible for a level 2 civilization. "Check the historical records," Vnik ordered. "When did the humans develop antimatter technology?" Milk searched frantically through the database. "There's nothing. Last assessment shows them still using nuclear fission and early fusion experiments." Vnik slammed all 6 of her appendages on the emergency communication panel. "Central Command, this is Monitoring Station 47. We have a code blue situation, requesting immediate verification and response." Within minutes, the station's sensors were overwhelmed as the unidentified Earth vessel activated its main drive. The energy output spiked beyond anything their equipment could accurately measure. "It's leaving orbit," Melk reported, voice trembling. "Current trajectory suggests it's heading out of their solar system." Vnik stared at the screen in disbelief. Their first antimatter ship, and they're already attempting interstellar travel. That violates every developmental pattern we've ever recorded. Back on the Sejong, the bridge crew felt a momentary pressure as the antimatter drive engaged fully. The stars on the view screen stretched slightly before returning to normal. There was no violent acceleration, no crushing G-forces. The inertial dampeners, powered by the seemingly limitless energy of the antimatter reactor, made the incredible speed feel like nothing more than a gentle cruise. "We've achieved 0-point force," announced Yuna, her voice barely containing her excitement. 40% of light speed and holding steady. Applause broke out across the bridge. They had just become the fastest human-made object in history. "Send the confirmation signal to Earth," Geo ordered. "Tell them the antimatter drive is performing perfectly." The message would take several minutes to reach home, even at light speed. But Earth would soon know that the age of antimatter-powered space travel had officially begun. In the depths of Confederation space, alarms were blaring in the office of High Commander Zat. He reviewed the emergency report with growing concern. "This is unprecedented," he told his advisors. "A species jumping from planetary confinement directly to antimatter technology. It violates every developmental model we have." "Could it be an error in our monitoring?" asked his science advisor. "3 separate stations have confirmed it," Zat replied. "Whatever this Earth vessel is, it's real. And it's moving at a significant fraction of light speed." After brief deliberation, Zat made his decision. "Contact Ambassador Tool. He's the closest diplomatic representative to the Sol system. He must intercept this vessel and determine exactly what we're dealing with." Ambassador Toll received the urgent message aboard his diplomatic cruiser. He had been returning from negotiations with the Pluvians when the order came to change course immediately toward the Sol system, an unregistered antimatter-powered vessel from Earth. He asked his aide in disbelief. "The humans aren't even classified as spacefaring yet." "The reports appear to be accurate, Ambassador," his aide replied. "Central Command is treating this as a potential crisis situation." Toll sighed. His cruiser was fast, one of the newest models in the Confederation fleet. Its matter-antimatter drive was efficient and powerful. But even he had to admit, the reported speeds of this Earth vessel were impressive for a supposedly primitive species. "Set intercept course," he ordered. "Maximum speed." 3 days later, the crew of the Sejong detected something unusual on their long-range sensors. "Captain," called Science Officer Mina Kwan. "Something's approaching from Sector 7. It's moving fast, very fast." Jiho moved to her station. "Identification?" "Unknown," she replied. "But the energy signature is similar to our own antimatter drive, though the configuration is different." The bridge fell silent. They had prepared for this possibility. First contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. But most had assumed it would happen after they reach Alpha Centauri. not 3 days into their journey. Defensive systems on standby, ordered Jiho, keeping his voice calm. Open all communication frequencies. Let's see if they want to talk. As the unknown vessel approached, its sleek, iridescent hull became visible on their screens. It was clearly artificial and clearly advanced, about twice the size of the Sejong, with strange protrusions that might have been weapons or sensors. They're matching our velocity, reported Yuma, sounding impressed. Exactly matching our vector. We're receiving a transmission, said Communications Officer Junli. It's not in any language I recognize, but the computer is attempting to decode it. Ambassador Toll watched the peculiar Earth vessel on his view screen. It was surprisingly elegant for a race's first antimatter ship. None of the crude design elements he had expected from a newly spacefaring species. Instead, it showed remarkable efficiency in its construction. Scan it thoroughly, he ordered his crew. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with. The results came back moments later, and Toll couldn't believe what he was seeing. The ship's antimatter reactor was not only stable but showed evidence of highly advanced containment technology. The efficiency ratings were astonishing, better than many Confederation vessels. Impossible, he whispered as his sensors confirmed what powered the human ship. The antimatter reactor was elegant, compact, and horrifyingly efficient. Technology that should have been centuries beyond human capability. They've accepted our universal greeting and are responding, reported his communications officer. Their computer system appears to be analyzing our language patterns. Tull straightened his ceremonial robes. Prepare for visual communication. It seems I will be conducting an unscheduled first contact. On the Sejong, the computer had made remarkable progress interpreting the alien language. Patterns were emerging, and basic communication seemed possible. They're requesting visual contact, Joan announced. Captain Jiho took a deep breath. Accept the request. The main screen flickered, and the crew of the Sejong saw their first alien. Ambassador Toll had a humanoid shape, but with blue-tinted skin, 4 eyes arranged horizontally, and tendrils instead of hair. He wore an elaborate robe with symbols that might have indicated rank or status. Greetings, vessel from Earth, Toll said, his words translated by the computer with only slight delays. I am Ambassador Toll of the Galactic Confederation. Your presence here is unexpected. Jiho stepped forward. I am Captain Jiho Kang of the Earth vessel Sejong. We come in peace on our first mission beyond our solar system. Tull's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Your vessel's power source has attracted our attention. The Confederation has no record of your species developing antimatter technology. We've had it for 5 years, Jiho replied simply. The ambassador's tendrils twitched in what might have been surprise. 5 years? That is most unusual. Would you permit me to come aboard your vessel? There is much we should discuss about your entry into the greater galactic community. Jiho looked around at his crew, seeing the excitement and apprehension on their faces. None of them had expected their mission to include diplomatic first contact with an alien civilization. We would be honored, Ambassador, Jiho replied. History awaits us both. As arrangements were made for docking, Toll sent an encrypted message back to Confederation headquarters. First contact established with Earth vessel. Antimatter technology confirmed. This changes everything. The Great Hall of the Confederation Council buzzed with nervous energy. 200 representatives from across the galaxy sat in rising tiers of seats, their varied forms, some humanoid, others utterly alien, all showing signs of agitation. Emergency lighting bathed the chamber in blue, signaling a crisis meeting. High Chancellor Vex, a tall, spindly being with 6 limbs and skin like polished obsidian, called for order. The Council will come to order. Ambassador Toll will now present his findings on the human antimatter technology. Ambassador Toll moved to the central platform, his blue skin looking pale under the harsh lights. The memory of his visit aboard the Sejong still troubled him. The humans had been so casual about their technological marvel, showing him their antimatter reactor as if it were a common appliance, rather than a reality-altering breakthrough. Esteemed council members, he began, I have confirmed what our sensors initially detected. The humans have indeed mastered antimatter containment and propulsion. Their first vessel, The Sejong uses technology that, by our developmental models, should be at least 3 centuries beyond their capability. Murmurs spread through the chamber. A reptilian counselor rose to speak. How did they accomplish this? Did they have outside help? Perhaps the Arxer have been interfering again. Tull shook his head. All evidence suggests they developed it independently. They faced an energy crisis and took an approach we considered too dangerous to pursue. Their solution was creative. He displayed holographic schematics of the human antimatter reactor. Several counselors gasped as they recognized the elegance of the design. As you can see, they use a magnetic containment system inspired by neutron stars. It's unlike anything in our technical database. Most surprisingly, their containment efficiency exceeds our own antimatter technology by 17%. Chancellor Vex's upper limbs twitched in distress. This is most concerning. The humans were supposed to remain a level 2 civilization for at least another century. Our protocols for managing emerging spacefaring species are based on gradual development. This changes everything. Science Director Moole, a gelatinous being floating in a transparent environment suit, moved forward. Chancellor, there's more. Our long-range sensors have detected activity in Earth orbit. They appear to be constructing more vessels, larger ones. The holographic display shifted to show Earth's orbital shipyards. 7 massive ships were taking form, each substantially larger than the Sejong. The Daehan class, Tool explained. According to information I gathered, these vessels will have twice the range and speed of their prototype. They're being designed specifically for colonization. A representative from the Trade Guild raised a tentacle. What threat assessment do we give these humans? Should we consider containment protocols? Tull hesitated. During my interaction with them, they showed no hostility. However, their rapid technological advancement makes them unpredictable. I would recommend cautious engagement rather than containment. As the council debated, none of them realized that their decisions would soon be rendered moot. While they talked, humanity acted. Back on Earth, the orbital shipyards hummed with activity. Workers in spacesuits moved across the skeletal frames of the new Daehan-class ships, assembling sections with practiced efficiency. In just 8 months since the Sejong's successful launch, humanity had dramatically scaled up its spacefaring capabilities. Admiral Junho Kim stood in the command center overlooking the construction. At 56, he had spent his career in Earth's nascent space forces, never dreaming he would live to see humans reach beyond the solar system. Now he was about to lead the first colonization fleet to another star. Admiral, the Daehan antimatter cores are all testing at full capacity, reported his aide, Lieutenant Gina Park. We're ahead of schedule. Chunho nodded, watching as the massive antimatter reactor was carefully maneuvered into position for the flagship, the UES Hansong. Any word from the Sejong? Yes, sir. Captain Kang reports they've made contact with an alien civilization called the Confederation. They seem surprised by our technology. Captain Kang is sending full details of the encounter, but the transmission will take some time to reach us. Chunho frowned. Aliens had not been part of the mission parameters, but the possibility had always existed. He made a quick decision. Accelerate the launch schedule. I want all 7 ships ready in 60 days, not 90. Sir? Jaina looked surprised. That's pushing the safety margins. Lieutenant, if there are aliens out there who know about us, we need to establish our presence beyond Earth as quickly as possible. History teaches us that single-planet species are vulnerable. We need a colony, and we need it now. 62 days later, the Daehan fleet departed Earth orbit in formation, their antimatter drives igniting in perfect synchronization. The blue-white glow of 7 massive engines briefly outshone the sun itself from certain angles on Earth. Aboard the Hansong, Admiral Junho addressed the combined crews via holographic projection. 800 colonists and crew members waited anxiously across the 7 ships. Today, we carry the future of humanity to the stars, he said simply. Our mission remains unchanged. Establish the first human colony on Proxima Centauri. We now know we are not alone in this galaxy, but that only makes our mission more vital. Godspeed to us all. The journey to Proxima Centauri would take just under 4 months with the improved antimatter drives. Each ship carried enough supplies to sustain its passengers for years, along with the equipment needed to begin terraforming operations on humanity's first extrasolar colony. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Confederation Council was still debating how to respond to the human situation when urgent news arrived. Chancellor, a communications officer, burst into the chamber. The humans. They've launched 7 more ships. They're already beyond our nearest monitoring station's range. Chancellor Vex's 6 limbs went rigid with shock. Tracking data. Where are they headed? Based on their trajectory, Proxima Centauri. They're moving at 0.6 feet, faster than any of our standard patrol vessels. The Council erupted in chaos. No species in Confederation history had moved from first antimatter test to colonization fleet in less than a standard year. The established pattern was decades of careful testing, followed by gradually expanding exploration. We must send observers, declared Science Director Moole. This unprecedented development requires close study. Trade Representative Clune disagreed. We should establish a quarantine zone. These humans are clearly reckless. Their technology could destabilize the entire sector. As the arguments continued, the Dahan fleet sped toward their destination, unaware and unconcerned with the political turmoil they were causing. 3 months and 26 days after departure, the Hansong entered orbit around Proxima Centauri b. The planet hung before them like a dark blue marble, its atmosphere thin but workable, its surface mostly ocean with scattered rocky continents. Perfect position, announced Navigation Officer Taeyong Lee. Stable orbit achieved. Admiral Chunho allowed himself a small smile. Begin the landing sequence for the terraforming equipment. I want the first habitation dome established within 72 hours. The Dahan ships had been designed for efficiency. Within hours, landing craft were descending to the planet's surface, carrying prefabricated habitat sections and the massive terraforming equipment. The key to their rapid colonization was the portable antimatter reactor each ship carried. Unlike traditional colonization, which might take decades to establish basic infrastructure, these reactors provided virtually unlimited power from the moment they were activated. On the surface, Chief Engineer Subin Yoon oversaw the activation of the first planetary reactor. Antimatter containment stable, she reported. We have power. With the reactor online, the terraforming equipment hummed to life. Atmospheric processors began converting the thin carbon dioxide atmosphere into something more Earth-like. Water purification systems tapped into the alien oceans, making the liquid safe for human consumption. 1 week after landing, the first permanent structure was completed. A geodesic dome 500 meters across, housing the colony's command center, living quarters, and agricultural section. Admiral Chunho stepped onto the alien soil during the formal inauguration ceremony. I named this colony New Sol, he declared, planting Earth's flag alongside a new banner designed for the colony. Back in the Confederation Council, the first reports from hastily dispatched observer ships were causing consternation. They've already established a functional colony, reported the observer captain. Their antimatter reactors have accelerated the terraforming process dramatically. At current rates, they'll have a self-sustaining colony with a breathable outdoor atmosphere in under 5 years, a process that typically takes centuries. Chancellor Vex looked around at the silent council chambers. It seems we must accept reality. The humans are no longer an emerging species. They are here, among the stars, whether we're ready for them or not. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted, suddenly and irreversibly. Humanity had arrived. The Bren Imperial warship dominance dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system, its massive hull gleaming like burnished copper in the light of the red dwarf star. Commander Grek stood on the command deck, his scaled skin reflecting the red emergency lighting as he studied the tactical display. Magnify Sector 3, he ordered, his voice a low rumble. The display zoomed in on the 4th planet, where energy readings had triggered the Bren Empire's border sensors. What Grek saw made his double hearts beat faster. A settlement was clearly visible on the planet's surface, and in orbit floated 7 vessels of unfamiliar design. Scan those ships, he commanded. I want weapons and propulsion data immediately. His science officer worked quickly, then looked up with alarm. Sir, they're powered by antimatter drives. The energy signature matches. It matches Confederation military-grade technology. Greg's crest rose in anger. The Confederation had sworn not to expand into this sector under the terms of the Galactic Armistice. After 7 centuries of peace, had they decided to break the treaty. Battle stations, he ordered, and send an emergency transmission to Imperial Command. The Confederation has violated neutral space. The Bren Empire and the Galactic Confederation had been rivals for millennia. Their last war had nearly destroyed a dozen inhabited systems before both sides agreed to a careful balance of power. Each respected the other's territory and maintained neutral zones between their spheres of influence. Proxima Centauri was squarely in one such neutral zone. Meanwhile, aboard the UES Hanel, which was conducting a patrol around New Sol Colony, Captain Sunja Kang was enjoying a rare moment of calm. At 38, she was among the youngest captains in Earth's new fleet, but her expertise with antimatter propulsion had earned her command of the Dayan-class vessel. Captain, called her sensor officer, we're detecting an unidentified ship entering the system. It's big. Sunja straightened in her command chair. Show me. The view screen revealed a massive vessel, at least 3 times the size of the Hanel. Its design was unlike anything in their database, which now included Confederation ship templates shared by Ambassador Toole. Open a channel, she ordered. Standard greeting protocol. Before her communications officer could comply, the ship's computer blared a warning. Energy surge detected. The vessel is powering weapons systems. Sunja reacted instantly. Shields up. Alert the colony and the rest of the fleet. Maintain position but ready evasive maneuvers. Lieutenant Minju Yang, her first officer, looked concerned. Captain, our database has no information on this ship's capabilities. Should we power our own weapons? Sanjay hesitated. Earth's policy for first contact was clear. Peaceful unless provoked. Not yet. Let's try to talk first. Across space, Commander Grek was preparing to deliver an ultimatum when his communications officer interrupted. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from one of the ships. It's not using Confederation protocols. Grek frowned. On screen, the image of Captain Sunja Kang appeared, her human features completely unfamiliar to the Bren commander. This is Captain Sunja Kang of the United Earth Ship Hanel. We detect that you have armed your weapons. We are a peaceful colony and request you state your intentions. Grek stared in confusion. The being on screen was no species he recognized from Confederation space. Identify your species and explain your presence in this neutral zone, he demanded. Sunja raised an eyebrow. We are humans from the planet Earth. We have established a colony here at Proxima Centauri. We were unaware this was considered a neutral zone by any power. Humans? Grek had never heard of such a species. You lie. Your ships are powered by Confederation antimatter technology. You are a Confederation military outpost illegally established in violation of the Galactic Armistice. Now it was Sunja's turn to look confused. I assure you, we are not affiliated with the Galactic Confederation. We have only recently made contact with them. Our antimatter technology was developed independently on Earth. Grek made a sound that might have been laughter. Impossible. No species develops antimatter containment without centuries of technological evolution. You are clearly Confederation puppets, placed here to establish a military foothold. The situation was deteriorating quickly. Sanjay could see the alien ship's weapon systems were fully charged now. Behind her, the colony was vulnerable, with its shields not yet fully operational. Lieutenant Yang, she said quietly, prepare to transmit our antimatter reactor schematics and development history. Full technical package. Yang looked shocked. Captain, that's classified information. Better to share our secrets than start an interstellar war, Sunja replied. She turned back to the screen. Commander, I propose a demonstration to prove our claims. I will allow your technical experts to inspect one of our antimatter reactors. You will see it was not built with Confederation technology. Before Greg could respond, another ship dropped out of FTL nearby, a Confederation diplomatic vessel. This is Ambassador Toole of the Galactic Confederation. came a new transmission. Commander Grek, stand down immediately. The humans are telling the truth. They are an independent species who developed antimatter technology on their own. The standoff now became a three-way communication, with tensions rising by the second. The Bren remained suspicious, the Confederation diplomats were desperate to defuse the situation, and the humans were caught in the middle of a conflict they barely understood. Sanjay made a bold decision. Both vessels, I invite representatives aboard the Handle immediately. We will power down our engines and weapons as a show of good faith. Come see our technology for yourselves. 4 hours later, Sanjay stood in the Handle's antimatter reactor chamber with Commander Grek, Ambassador Toll, and their respective technical experts. The human engineers had removed the safety panels, exposing the inner workings of the reactor. Chief Engineer Ji-hoon Park explained the design principles. As you can see, the containment field mimics the magnetic properties of a neutron star. This was Dr. Ji-hoon Park's breakthrough, using nature's own design to contain antimatter safely. The Bren technical officer examined the reactor with specialized equipment, then turned to Commander Grek. Sir, this design is unlike anything in Confederation technology. The containment method is completely different, and frankly, more efficient than both our designs and theirs. Ambassador Toll nodded. As I have been trying to explain, Commander, the humans developed this independently. They took an approach both our civilizations abandoned centuries ago as too dangerous. Commander Grek's crest flattened in what might have been embarrassment. If what you say is true, then we have nearly made a grave error. Sanjay seized the diplomatic opening. Commander, we had no intention of violating any neutral zone. We are simply looking to establish our first colony beyond our home system. Earth only recently developed faster-than-light capability. The tension in the room gradually eased as the three representatives began to talk more openly. The Bren and Confederation officials were still stunned by the reality of human technological development. Your species went from planetary confinement to antimatter mastery in less than a century. Grek asked, incredulous. We faced an energy crisis, Sanjay explained. Necessity drove innovation. As the meeting concluded, both the Bren Empire and the Confederation extended official recognition to humanity as an independent spacefaring species. More importantly, both powers were clearly interested in closer ties with these surprising newcomers. The Confederation would be honored to establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth, Ambassador Toll offered. Not to be outdone, Commander Grek added, the Bren Empire would also welcome human representatives. Your antimatter technology could be valuable to discuss. Sanjay understood the implications immediately. Both galactic powers saw potential in alliance with humanity. Their unexpected arrival and technological prowess had inadvertently given Earth leverage in interstellar politics. Later, as the foreign representatives departed, Lieutenant Yang joined Sanjay on the observation deck. That was close, he said quietly. We nearly started a war without even knowing who we were fighting. Sanjay nodded. And now we're being courted by both sides of a galactic Cold War. She watched as the massive Bren warship moved away, its engines glowing. I think humanity just became a major player in galactic politics, whether we're ready or not. Back on Earth, the news of the Proxima Centauri incident spread quickly. What had started as a simple colonization effort had evolved into a complex diplomatic situation that would shape humanity's future among the stars. In a special session of the United Earth Government, representatives voted to establish formal embassies with both the Confederation and the Bren Empire while maintaining strict neutrality between the two powers. Today marks a new chapter in human history, announced Secretary General Hannah Lee. We have not only reached the stars, but found our place among them. The great misunderstanding had been averted, but its implications would echo across the galaxy for years to come. Dr. Ji-hoon Park stood at the window of her apartment on New Seoul, watching ships come and go from the orbital station. At 73, her hair had turned completely white, but her eyes remained sharp behind simple glasses. 20 years had passed since her team created the first stable antimatter reactor deep beneath Antarctic ice. The view before her would have been impossible to imagine back then. Dozens of ships moved through the space above Proxima Centauri, the human vessels alongside Confederation cruisers, and even the occasional Bren transport. New Seoul had grown from a small colony dome to a thriving city of 200,000 people. Her assistant, a young engineer named Hana, entered the room. Dr. Park, your transport is ready. The ceremony begins in 3 hours. Juwoo nodded, turning away from the window. Today, she would receive the Galactic Academy of Science's highest honor, the Cosmic Innovation Medal. No human had ever been given this award before. Is my speech ready? She asked. Hana handed her a small data tablet. Final version, as you requested. Short and simple. Juwoo smiled. Despite all her achievements, she had never enjoyed public speaking. The idea of addressing thousands of alien dignitaries made her nervous, but this was too important to decline. The antimatter-powered shuttle ride to the Galactic Academy's headquarters took less than an hour. Located on a neutral space station at the junction of 3 major trade routes, the Academy was a massive structure of gleaming metal and crystalline domes. It's beautiful, Juwoo whispered as they approached. Inside, representatives from over 500 worlds had gathered for the ceremony. The main hall was filled with beings of every description, some humanoid, others utterly alien in form. What they shared was a deep respect for science and innovation. Academy Director Zil, a tall being with luminescent skin, greeted Juwoo at the entrance. Dr. Park, we are honored by your presence. Your work has transformed our galaxy in ways none could have predicted. Juwoo bowed respectfully. The honor is mine, Director. As they walked toward the ceremony hall, Juwoo marveled at how much had changed. Human antimatter technology had spread rapidly across the galaxy, licensed through careful agreements that had made Earth wealthy beyond imagination. The efficiency and safety of human containment designs had revolutionized galactic travel and energy production. Where once antimatter had been used sparingly due to concerns about containment failure, now it powered everything from small personal vehicles to massive terraforming equipment. Travel times between distant worlds had been cut by half. Energy-intensive processes like planetary transformation, once taking centuries, could now be completed in decades. The diplomatic advantages have been even more significant. By maintaining neutrality between the Confederation and the Bren Empire while sharing technology with both, humanity had secured a unique position in interstellar politics. Earth now hosted embassies from 87 alien civilizations, and human colonies had spread to 12 star systems. The ceremony began with music, a strange but pleasant harmony of sounds produced by instruments from a dozen worlds. Then Director Zild took the center stage. Today, we honor a scientist whose work represents the best of what sentient minds can achieve. 20 years ago, Dr. Juwoo Park led a team that developed stable, efficient antimatter containment when her world desperately needed energy. What followed changed not just her planet, but our entire galactic community. The audience applauded, some using appendages to create sounds, others flashing colors or releasing scented spores that signified respect in their cultures. Dr. Park's breakthrough reminded us all that innovation often comes from unexpected places. The Cosmic Innovation Medal has existed for 3,000 years, but never has it been more deserved. Juwoo walked slowly to the center of the stage as Director Zil placed the medal, a small disc of an incredibly rare element that glowed with inner light, around her neck. Thank you, she said simply, facing the assembled dignitaries. I accept this honor on behalf of all humans who work to make antimatter technology a reality. She paused, looking out at the diverse crowd. Many have asked me how Earth, a relatively young civilization, managed to solve a problem that has challenged the galaxy for millennia. The answer is simple and perhaps a little embarrassing. A murmur ran through the crowd as translation systems conveyed her words in hundreds of languages. We didn't know it was supposed to be impossible, she explained. While other species followed established technological paths, humanity took a risk on antimatter because we had no predetermined roadmap to follow. Sometimes being the underdog means you're free to try the approaches everyone else dismissed. The simplicity of her explanation caused a moment of silence, followed by thunderous approval. Many species recognized a profound truth in her words. Sometimes knowledge itself could become a limitation. Earth was facing an energy crisis that threatened our civilization. Juwoo continued. We couldn't afford to believe antimatter was too dangerous to master. Necessity drove us to try what others had abandoned. She smiled, remembering those long days in the Antarctic lab. What we learned in that process is that the galaxy is full of impossible things waiting to be discovered. Whether it's stable antimatter containment or peaceful cooperation between rival empires, the word impossible often just means not yet attempted in the right way. As the ceremony concluded, representatives from dozens of worlds approached Juwu, each expressing gratitude or curiosity. A young Bren scientist, her scales still bright with youth, asked the question many were thinking. What will humans discover next, Dr. Park? What other impossible things will you show us? Juwu laughed softly. I'm an old woman now. The next breakthroughs will come from younger minds, human and non-human alike, perhaps even from collaboration between our species. Later that evening, at the reception held in her honor, Juwu found a quiet moment with Admiral Junho Kim, now the elderly ambassador to the Galactic Confederation. Did you ever imagine this? She asked, gesturing around them at the diverse gathering. When we were working on that first reactor, did you think we'd end up here? Junho shook his head. Never. I hoped we'd solve Earth's energy crisis. I dreamed we might reach nearby stars. But this, he waved at a group of human scientists deep in conversation with Confederation and Bren engineers. This goes beyond anything I imagined. Juwu watched as a human child, the daughter of colonial diplomats, played some kind of game with young aliens, all of them laughing in their different ways. We found our place in the galaxy. Not just a place, Junho corrected her. A purpose. Humanity brought fresh thinking to a very old galactic community. On the journey back to New Seoul, Juwu's shuttle passed the massive antimatter shipyards in orbit. The newest vessel under construction was a collaborative project, designed by humans, built with Confederation materials, using Bren shield technology. It would be the fastest ship ever constructed, capable of reaching the galactic core in weeks rather than months. Down on the planet's surface, New Seoul's lights glowed in the darkness. The colony had become famous for its university, where students from 300 worlds came to study human approaches to physics and engineering. Juwu felt a deep satisfaction as her shuttle descended toward the city. Her life's work had opened not just new energy sources, but new possibilities for countless beings. Humanity had arrived late to the galactic community, but had made an impact far beyond their numbers. Dr. Park, the shuttle pilot called back, look to the west. You can see the first transport from the Andromeda expedition returning. Juwu peered out the window to see a bright light descending through the atmosphere. The first human-led mission to reach the neighboring galaxy. Another impossible achievement made possible by antimatter technology. As she watched the ship's descent, Juwu thought about the speech she had given. The true secret of humanity's success wasn't just technological innovation. It was the willingness to question assumptions, to try paths others had abandoned, to believe that impossible was simply a challenge rather than a barrier. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would humanity, as they took their place among the stars, not as latecomers, but as innovators who had changed the course of galactic history with one brilliant, impossible breakthrough. That night, as Juwu drifted off to sleep in her apartment overlooking the colony she had helped make possible, she thought about the Antarctic lab where it all began. From that frozen wasteland on a desperate Earth to this, a galaxy transformed by human ingenuity. Some might call it destiny. Dr. Juwu Park simply called it humanity's promise fulfilled.